Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that constantly pulls at our attention. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, noise, it's everywhere. And if we're not careful, we end up spending more energy focusing on everyone else's business than our own. Here's the truth. What you focus on, if you keep feeding distractions, you'll get more distracted. If you keep feeding drama, you'll get more drama. But if you feed your growth, your peace, your goals, you'll get more of the life you actually want. Most people make this mistake. They outsource their happiness. They wait for approval, validation, or recognition before they feel good about themselves. The problem that puts your peace in somebody else's hands, and the second they take it away, you're empty. This is why boundaries matter. Every time you say yes to things that drain you, you're saying no to the things that could build you. Protect your focus like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. And let's be honest, comparison is the enemy of focus. The more you stare at someone else's progress, the less time you have to make your own. Your journey isn't supposed to look like theirs. Your race, your pace, that's the only scoreboard that matters. So here's the challenge. Pour into yourself. Read the book. Take the walk. Build the skill. Guard your peace. Because when you get stronger, calmer, more focused, you don't just win. Everyone around you wins too. The power of focus on yourself isn't about being selfish. It's about being responsible. A better you creates a better life. And when you learn to master that, no distraction, no drama, no comparison can take it away. Energy flows where focus goes. Think about that for a second. Wherever you place your attention, you're sending energy, and wherever you send energy, something grows. It's like watering a plant. If you pour water on weeds, don't be surprised when the weeds take over your garden. If you water flowers, that's what blooms. The same is true for your mind, your goals, your relationships in your life. What you choose to focus on every single day shapes the reality you experience tomorrow. The problem is, most of us don't realize how powerful our focus really is. We wake up in the morning and immediately let our attention get hijacked, scrolling through social media, checking other people's lives, worrying about what someone else might think of us. And then we wonder why we feel drained, unmotivated, or stuck. The truth is, we're watering weeds. We're feeding distractions instead of feeding direction. We're putting our energy into things that don't move us forward. But when you flip that switch, when you start being intentional with your focus, everything changes. If you put your energy into your goals, your growth, your peace, your relationships, that's what expands. You'll start noticing opportunities you never saw before. You'll start feeling stronger, calmer, more capable. Not because the world around you suddenly got easier, but because you finally decided to direct your focus where it matters. Think about the moments when you've been laser focused on something important, whether it was finishing a project, preparing for an exam, or training for something physical. In those times, distractions faded away. You weren't obsessing about what someone else was doing. You weren't glued to meaningless drama. You were all in. And because of that, that's the power of focus. It multiplies your effort. It turns small, consistent actions into massive results. Of course, there will always be noise. There will always be people demanding your attention, pulling you toward their problems, their negativity, their expectations. But here's the key. You don't have to feed everything that calls for your attention. You get to choose where your energy goes. And when you start choosing wisely, you start creating wisely. So ask yourself, what am I feeding? Am I pouring energy into fear or into complaints or into solutions, into comparison or into self-improvement? Because whatever you feed will grow. If you keep feeding doubts, they'll multiply. If you keep feeding excuses, they'll chain you down. But if you feed discipline, it grows into progress. If you feed gratitude, it grows into joy. If you feed focus, it grows into freedom. At the end of the day, your focus is your power. Guard it, direct it, use it with intention. Don't let your energy be wasted on things that don't matter because you only get so much of it each day. Pour it into what matters most. Because where your focus goes, your future grows. And that future is waiting for you to decide which seeds you're going to water. Stop outsourcing your happiness. Too many of us hand over the keys to our peace of mind without even realizing it. We let someone else's words, opinions, or approval decide how we feel about ourselves. The problem with that is simple. You lose control the moment you measure your worth by someone else's standard. If they clap for you, you feel good. If they don't, you feel empty. That's not happiness. That's dependency. And dependency always comes with chains. Think about how often this shows up in daily life. You post something online and feel amazing when it gets likes, but discouraged when it doesn't. You share your dreams and feel confident when people agree, but doubtful when they don't. You show up in relationships and feel valuable only when the other person notices your effort. That's outsourcing happiness. That's putting your self-worth on a roller coaster controlled by someone else's hand. And the ride never ends well. The truth is, happiness built on external approval is fragile. It cracks the moment people change their mind, lose interest, or simply stop noticing. And they will, because people are unpredictable. They're busy with their own lives, their own struggles, their own noise. If you tie your sense of worth to their attention, you'll spend your life chasing validation that never lasts. But when you stop outsourcing happiness and start owning it, you shift the game completely. You realize that peace doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. It comes from living in a way that feels true to you, even if no one claps. It comes from setting goals that matter to you, even if no one understands them. It comes from practicing gratitude, discipline, and growth. Not because someone else told you to, but because you know it builds the life you want. Owning your happiness doesn't mean you ignore people or stop caring about relationships. It means you stop depending on them to complete you. You enjoy compliments, but you don't need them. You accept criticism, but you don't crumble under it. You can celebrate with others without competing, and you can stand firm in who you are without waiting for a stamp of approval. That's freedom, and the more you practice it, the more powerful it gets. Suddenly, you're not shaken by every opinion. You're not chasing after people who don't value you. You're not begging for validation from places that can't give it. Instead, you're rooted, grounded, confident. You walk into rooms knowing your worth isn't up for debate. You set boundaries without guilt because you know protecting your peace is more important than pleasing the crowd. So stop outsourcing your happiness. Take it back. Decide today that your worth isn't measured by how many people notice you, but by how deeply you notice yourself. Build your joy on values, not validation. Anchor your confidence in who you are becoming, not in who claps along the way. Because when you own your happiness, no one can take it from you, and that's the kind of freedom that lasts. Boundaries protect your focus. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you are unintentionally saying no to something that does. That's why boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. Without them, your focus gets pulled in 100 different directions. And before you know it, you're drained, distracted, and disconnected from what actually matters. Most people struggle with boundaries because they confuse them with rejection. They think saying no means pushing people away or disappointing. But the reality is, boundaries are not about shutting others out. They're about protecting the space you need to show up fully. Without boundaries, you burn out. Without boundaries, you give away your energy to people and situations that don't deserve it. And when your focus is scattered, your growth suffers. Think about your daily life. How many times have you agreed to something just to avoid conflict, even though deep down you didn't have the time, energy, or desire? How often have you stretched yourself thin, trying to meet everyone else's expectations, only to feel resentful and exhausted? That's what happens when you don't set boundaries. You train people to believe your time is always available, your energy is endless, and your priorities don't matter. But the truth is, your time and focus are limited, and if you don't guard them, someone else will use them for their benefit. Boundaries are a sign of self-respect. When you say no to what drains you, you're saying yes to what grows you. When you protect your time, you give yourself permission to focus on your goals, your peace, and your growth. And here's the irony. When you set strong boundaries, you actually become a better friend, partner, parent, and professional. Why? Because you're showing up from a place of strength, instead of exhaustion. It's important to remember that boundaries don't always have to be explained or justified. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a story about why you're protecting your focus. People who respect you will understand. People who don't are often the very reason you need those boundaries in the first place. The more you practice setting boundaries, the easier it gets. At first, you might feel guilty because you're breaking old habits of people pleasing, but over time, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel lighter, calmer, more in control. You'll realize that boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't keep love out, they keep chaos out. They don't isolate you, they empower you. Protecting your focus isn't about being unavailable to everyone. It's about being fully available to the right things. It's about directing your energy where it matters most, and refusing to let distractions steal it. So say no without guilt. Say no without hesitation. Say no because your peace, your growth, and your future are worth. Boundaries don't make you selfish, they make you stronger. And when your focus is protected, your potential has no limits. Comparison steals progress. The moment you start measuring your life against someone else's, you stop moving forward in your own. It's like running a race while staring at the lane beside you. You trip, you stumble, and you lose sight of the finish line that was meant for you. Your lane, your race, your pace, that's the only path that truly matters. The danger of comparison is subtle. At first, it feels harmless. You see someone's success and think, I should be there by now. You look at someone else's highlight reel online and wonder why your life doesn't look the same. But what starts as observation quickly turns into obsession. An obsession robs you of joy. It takes the progress you've made and convinces you it's not enough. It turns gratitude into resentment. It blinds you to how far you've come because you're too busy staring at where someone else is. Here's the truth. You can't compare chapters when you don't know the full story. That person you're comparing yourself to might be in chapter 20 while you're in chapter 3. They may have different circumstances, different challenges, and different timelines. And even if you tried to copy their path exactly, it wouldn't work because your journey was never meant to look like theirs. Progress isn't about who's ahead or behind. Progress is about whether you're further along today than you were yesterday. When you focus on your own lane, something powerful happens. You start noticing your growth instead of your gaps. You begin to celebrate small wins instead of dismissing them. You realize that success isn't a race against others. It's a steady climb toward the best version of yourself. Your pace may be slower than some, faster than others, but it's your pace, and that's the only speed that will get you where you're supposed to be. Comparison also distracts you from your strengths. While you're busy wishing you had someone else's talent, you ignore the gifts you already have. While you're counting what they've gained, you overlook the opportunities sitting right in front of you. But when you shift your focus inward, you begin to see the unique value you bring. You realize you don't need to run someone else's race. You just need to run yours with commitment and consistency. And here's the thing, no one wins when you compare. The person you're watching doesn't slow down, and you don't speed up. All that happens is you lose energy doubting yourself instead of building your. Comparison steals progress because it divides your attention. Instead of using your energy to move forward, you waste it looking sideways. So let this be your reminder. Your lane, your race, your pace. You don't need to keep up with anyone else. You don't need to match their timeline or mirror their results. Your journey is yours for a reason. Celebrate where you are, honor the process, and trust that as long as you keep moving forward, progress is being made. Run your race with focus, and the finish line, meant for you, will always be waiting. Invest in your growth. Out of everything you could put time, money, and energy into, nothing pays back more than building yourself. Skills, habits, and mindset. Those are the best returns you'll ever get, because they can never be taken from you. A new card depreciates, trends fade, people's opinions change, but the person you're becoming, that's the one investment that compounds for life. Think about skill. Every skill you develop is a tool that opens doors. Learning how to communicate better, manage money, solve problems, or even stay calm under pressure. These are things that build confidence and create opportunities. Skills don't just help you at work. They help you in relationships, in decision-making, and in everyday life. The time you spend learning and practicing may feel slow at first, but it's like planting seeds. Over time,
Those seeds grow into trees that provide shade and fruit for years to come. Then there are habits. Habits are the structure that hold your growth together. Big goals are exciting, but it's daily habits that make them possible. Waking up early, staying consistent, choosing discipline over comfort. These are the things that move the needle. And the best part about habits is that they work quietly in the background, and once you build them, they start carrying you forward without as much effort. Habits turn progress into lifestyle, and lifestyle into lasting change. And then there's mindset. This might be the most powerful investment of all. The way you think shapes everything you do. A strong mindset gives you resilience. When things get hard, it keeps you moving when you feel like quitting. It helps you see setbacks as lessons instead of failure. Mindset is the difference between someone who gives up at the first obstacle and someone who finds a way around it. When you invest in your mindset through learning, reflection, gratitude, and perspective, you're building inner strength that nothing external can shake. The beauty of investing in yourself is that no one else has control over it. You don't need permission to pick up a book, practice a skill, or change a habit. You don't need applause to reframe your thoughts and strengthen your minds. Growth is something you get to choose every single day, regardless of your circumstances, and every small choice compounds. One skill leads to another opportunity. One habit leads to another breakthrough. One shift in mindset leads to a completely different life. People often wait for the right time to grow, but the right time doesn't come. Growth doesn't wait for the perfect conditions. It starts when you decide to take one step in the right direction. The sooner you invest in yourself, the sooner you'll see the return. And the return doesn't just show up in your achievements. It shows up in your confidence, your peace, your clarity, and your ability to handle life with strength. So invest in your growth. Build the skills that create opportunities, the habits that keep you steady, and the mindset that makes you unstoppable. Because everything else can be lost, but who you become, that's yours forever, and that investment will always pay the highest dividend. Focus on yourself to serve others better. It may sound counterintuitive at first, because we're often told that putting others before ourselves is the ultimate act of kindness. But the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best to the people you love if you're running on fumes. A stronger you is not just a gift to yourself, it's a greater gift to the world. Think about it. When you're drained, stressed, or unfocused, how do you show up for others? Maybe you're physically present, but your energy is off. Maybe you're quick to snap, too tired to listen, or too overwhelmed to help. That doesn't serve anyone. But when you take care of yourself first, when you invest in your peace, your growth, your health, you show up with patience, clarity, and strength. You're able to give from a place of abundance, rather than exhaustion. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop neglecting the one person you're responsible for every single day, yourself. If you don't manage your stress, who will? If you don't guard your boundaries, who will? If you don't take care of your body and mind, who will? The better you take care of yourself, the better you can take care of those who rely on you. When you work on yourself, you inspire others, without even trying. Your discipline sets an example. Your growth creates opportunities, not just for you but for the people around you. Your calm energy makes others feel safe. Your strength gives others permission to be strong. That's the ripple effect of self-focus. It doesn't stop with you, it spreads outward. Think of it like sharpening a tool. A dull blade can still cut, but it takes more effort, more energy, and often causes more damage. But a sharp blade, it's efficient, effective, and precise. That's what happens when you focus on yourself. You sharpen your ability to serve. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And that thriving helps everyone connected to you. This is why self-care and self-growth are not luxuries. They're responsibilities. When you ignore your own needs, you eventually hit a wall, and the people around you feel the consequence. But when you prioritize your mental health, your physical health, and your personal growth, you expand your capacity to love, to lead, and to support others. So don't feel guilty for focusing on yourself. Don't mistake it for selfishness. Selfishness is taking from others to benefit yourself. Focusing on yourself is building yourself up so you have more to give. It's the difference between showing up half empty and showing up full. At the end of the day, the world doesn't need a version of you that's burnt out and broke. The world needs the version of you that is strong, whole, and focused. Because when you focus on yourself, You don't just change your own life, you elevate everyone you touch, and that is the greatest gift you can ever give. At the end of the day, the power of focus on yourself is about taking responsibility for the life you want to create. It's about understanding that energy flows where focus goes, that your happiness cannot depend on others, that boundaries protect your peace, that comparison robs you of progress, that investing your growth pays the best returns, and that by strengthening yourself, you serve others even more. When you choose to focus inward, you're not being selfish, you're being intentional. You're building a foundation strong enough to handle life's challenges, and generous enough to lift others along the way. So stop scattering your attention, stop giving your power away, focus on what truly matters, your growth, your peace, your journey. Because when you do, you won't just change your life, you'll change the lives of those around you. Thank you.